How we doing, everybody? Hello. Welcome to the Postgame show. Unfortunately, not a positive outcome in this series. Where could we start here? I feel like we got a lot of things to digest. You know, you're hoping for Garrett Crochet. This is your guy, right? And you're hoping for him to, with Garrett Crochet, right? He's not going to be perfect, every single start. He's going to have his outings where he's not going to be at his sharpest. But it's frustrating when the offense, which has been so up and down this year, and, what this guy brings to the table, and they can't find a way to get it done. Honestly, Garrett Crochet, it is what it is. But this offense, it's starting to drive me nuts, to be completely honest with you. With Crochet, you go back to his last start in the post game. He talked about, he's still trying to find it mechanically. He talked about where, instead of throwing at the catcher, he's trying to throw through the catcher. I wasn't the greatest pitcher in high school, but I remember that was something my pitching coach on my high school team, really, tried to make it simple for me to try and get my mechanics down a little bit. And, with Garrett Crochet, he's still trying to find his way out there. Obviously we've seen good results, but from a consistency point of view, he's just not quite there yet, even though, he's still obviously one of the best pitchers in the game. He struck out 9 guys today, but in the end, he just had trouble with the command. We'll get more into the breakdown with him in just a little bit, but this offense, Alex Bregman, he can't do it all. Good day for Alex Bregman today, but they need these other guys to start stepping up. And, the guy in the 2-hole, Rafael Devers, I'm getting a little concerned with him. We'll talk about him in just a little bit. Luis Guerrero getting called up here today. Josh Winkowski getting sent back down. That was a bright spot for today in this loss. Luis Guerrero looking pretty solid in 2 innings of work. The bullpen, beside Liam Hendricks, he got into a little trouble there today, but they were able to lock it down and keep the Red Sox in the game. How about the Narv Dog? The Narv Dog contributing, right? You thought maybe, you had something there at the end of the game. It's going to be tough against Andres Munoz for any team out there. But hey, he gave you a bit more of a chance today. And Brian Wu, hats off to Brian Wu of the Mariners. This is a guy where, there's a reason why teams have wanted to trade for this guy over the years. He's freaking good. He's freaking good. Bryce Miller, they're able to figure him out the other day. Brian Wu, though, man, you're not going to – it's going to be hard to get to both of those guys in one series. Unfortunately, series loss for the Red Sox in this one. They're on to Cleveland. But before we do get into the postgame show, I'm going to let Scott and Alana over on Foul Territory take over for today's sponsor.
Alana, we love our pups dearly, and we want to shout out Spot and Tango for taking care of our pups with their unkibble. They are a game changer.
A game changer is right, Scott. And anything about me, that I love dogs and I want them to live forever. My own rescue pup, Bentley, is my passion, and she loves Spot and Tango, thank goodness. It's 100% human-grade ingredients, so you know exactly what your dog is getting. Oftentimes in other forms of dog food, you have no idea what's in it. It's a bunch of fillers. She loves it. It helps keep her healthy. It's perfectly customized for her age, her breed, her weight, and her level of activity. Makes me happy to give it to her.
Hey, and you can upgrade your pet's bowl with Spot and Tango Unkibble. For a limited time, go to spotandtango.com/foul. Use code FOUL to get 50% off your first order. That is spotandtango.com/foul. Code FOUL to get 50% off your first order. One more time for the pups out there. Code FOUL at spotandtango.com/foul.
All righty, go check that out. If you got a dog at home, I think you should take advantage of that deal. Now, getting into Garrett Crochet a little bit, I see you in the chat here. Marco Scudero is my hero. That was an absolute grinder of a start from Crochet. Good on him to limit the damage. Yeah, like I said, he's your ace. Obviously, you're paying him the big bucks. You made the big trade for him in the offseason. You gave up a lot for this guy when you think about the money and the prospects given up. Yeah, he's your guy. But you can't count on this guy to be, going out there and throwing a no-hitter every single time. I don't mean that you, Marco Scudero, is my hero. I don't mean you. I'm just saying in general. But yeah, you're completely right. He grinded out there. That's an ace. When he's not on top of his game, he's still going to find a way to give you enough, right? 5 innings, right? A career high in walks today with 5, but striking out 9 along the way. Give him a lot of credit for digging deep, even when he's not at his best. So I completely agree with you. It wasn't a bad day. It wasn't his best day, obviously, one of the lesser starts for Crochet in his career, but this is a guy that he battled out there and, he kept you in the ball game along with the bullpen here. But overall for Crochet, 5 innings, 5 hits, 4 earned, 9 Ks. Like I said, a career high in walks with 5. He had a ton of swing and miss on the fastball today, but as you can see with the walks, he lacked the command. He was kind of, I don't know if there's like a mechanical issue, a bit of a grip issue. I think it's really more of a mechanical thing. And I was actually taking a look here on StatCast, and you can look at the arm angle here from the last several years. Last year, he was at 38 degrees on the arm angle. This year, he's down to 31. So I wonder, if he's trying to just find his way a little bit mechanically. And like I said, he kind of talked about this after his last start, trying to throw through the catcher, right? So, let's see if that's something he'll get worked. I don't even want to say let's see. He will get this figured out. It's not that big of a deal, but something to pay attention to for today. But like I said, getting a lot of swing and miss on the fastball. It's just one of those days. He's just not fully there yet, I think. But to me, this is where the offense really needs to start picking it up. And I'm going to be honest here. I'm getting a little frustrated with Rafi Devers here. Getting a little frustrated with Rafi Devers. Obviously starting off the year in a terrible way. You know what I mean? Obviously, he had the record high in, strikeouts to start off a year. But then it looked like, okay, he was coming into his own. He was making hard contact. But one thing Rafi has been better at this year so far is, not chasing pitches, being a bit more disciplined at the plate. But, you're still not seeing great numbers from Rafi overall. Let me actually pull up the numbers here with Mr. Rafi. And, it's not looking great. It's not looking great so far. Again, it's early, but, he's only hitting 194, 658 OPS overall. The on base is fine at a 331. You just need to see him start to do a bit more damage. In the last 7 games, only hitting 087, slugging at a 261. He's got a home run, but, he's just, I don't know, man. He just seems lost. And I wonder at this point, with how Bregman is hitting so far this year, I wonder if, it might sound crazy. I'm sure a lot of you will disagree, but I wonder at some point if Rafi can't figure this out. Maybe you put Bregman in the 2 spot. Maybe you go Duran, the lefty, Bregman, the righty, 1-2. Maybe Rafi, goes into the 3 spot. I just feel like this offense, it's so, like I've said many times, so up and down. But Rafi, that's your guy in the 2 spot. And when he's not clicking, that's going to put pressure on all these other guys. It's just going to make the pitcher's job so much easier when, Rafi's not on top of his game. He's got to figure this out here. He's got to figure this out. But Alex Bregman, good day for him today. Like I said, what a great start it is for Bregman here. And, I know it's early, but this is slowly turning into, I think, one of the best Red Sox free agent signings of all time. I said this all offseason. He was perfect for the Red Sox. When you take a look at the swing, when you take a look at the metrics with him, when you take a look at how he's done at Fenway in his career, he fits like a glove. It's going so well so far. You look at JD Martinez as, I think arguably, Manny Ramirez. You look at those two as the best free agent signings in Red Sox history. I think Alex Bregman, he's working his way up there, man. He's off to just a tremendous start here. Love what he's doing. I mean, he carried the offense, for what it was today. You need these other guys to start producing, though. But let's kind of go through this. Let's go through the key points. First inning, that's where you saw Crochet. He just didn't look right, didn't get off to the good start. Dylan Moore had the leadoff single. We're able to get a couple of strikeouts on J-Rod and Cal Riley, but Randy Rosarena, good battle with him. Give him a lot of credit drawing the walk there. But then Mitch Garver, a guy that had a terrible year last year, deep drive center field. Took a bit of a weird bounce on Christian Campbell out there. I see a lot of people saying, oh, why is Christian Campbell out in center field? I think it's a valid question to bring up, right? With Campbell, I understand wanting to increase the versatility a little bit. I get it. You also want to get some other guys to playing time, right? But I don't know, man. I just feel like with Campbell, I get both sides. I do. I'd like for him to stay at second base, but I'm also open to him playing a little bit, elsewhere as well. But at the same time, like, if you're going to be calling up Roman Anthony at some point, I mean, is it really necessary? Really? I mean, you could look at, if they call up Marcelo Meyer, but at that point, though, is Christian Campbell going to be playing center field, right? If you call up Meyer with Trevor Story staying at shortstop, Meyer's going to be your second baseman. So really, is there ever a time where Christian Campbell would be really maybe like minus a rare appearance? Is he really your center fielder at that point? Unless maybe they feel like Duran would be better off in left field. I don't know. I don't really see a point for Campbell, especially, if guys like Anthony and Marcelo come up. So that's just me. But I do see the side of Christian Campbell getting some time out there as well. It's unfortunate. The ball took a bad bounce on him. What can you do? That made it 2-0. Bregman came back with a home run to make it 2-1. I see you in the chat, Phoenix. Hamilton gotta go. What was Hamilton's final line today? Hamilton, man, minus that home run in Tampa, he's off to a really tough start, hitting .067 with a .292 OPS. David Hamilton. I mean, again, I think your best lineup, I get it. Guys need days off. Guys need playing time. But Hamilton, I was really thinking he was going to be a big contributor. It's early, but he's off to a rough start here. Rough start. It is what it is. Top of the second, right? The issues continued with Garrett Crochet. Williamson had the leadoff base hit. Rivas had the walk. Crawford had the base hit to load the bases. Hey, J.P. Crawford, good series for him. Had the sac fly from Dylan Moore, made it 3-1. J-Rob with the ground out, 4-1. So, the Mariners, man, they were just taking advantage of Crochet and the lack of command today. Bottom of the third, Duran leading it off with or getting the double. But then Raffy with the line out. And this is what I'm saying, where is it better? Yes, Bregman is doing well at the spot that he's in currently in the lineup. But would this be something to consider where maybe Bregman bats second? All right. Or could you even do something even more funky? Maybe Trevor Story batting second. Trevor Story has a lot of experience in the 2-hole in his career. Is that something you could do there? And maybe, because they had Willier batting fourth, Story was batting fifth. I don't know. Could that be something maybe you think about where maybe Raffy, he goes into the 4 spot, and he gives protection to, or goes into the 3, or, well, no, I mean, you can kind of go, if you put Story in the 2 spot, you could have Bregman stay at the 3. I mean, that's good protection for him, or Raffy, whatever it may be. I'm just saying. I wonder if maybe you could do something differently with the 2 spot in the lineup, with Raffy going through this slump here and just the ups and downs so far this year. But, with the Duran double, I thought that was a good moment really to try and get yourself back into the game there. That's happened a lot this year where the Red Sox get something going and the momentum just dies. So it is what it is. Nothing really much to talk about offensively until the 8th inning. The Narv Dog, I'm calling him the Narv Dog. That's my nickname for Carlos Narvaez. I've seen Narvi. I've seen Narv. I'm thinking Narv Dog, man. That is what I'm going to be calling him. You can come along for the ride if you want to, but I'm going Narv Dog. But hey, I love what Narvaez has brought to the team, right? He's not going to, knock your socks off when it comes to, he's not going to give you a Jason Varitek kind of a slash line when it comes to the plate. But, I feel like what he's giving you on both sides of the ball for being an everyday catcher for the most part, I think he's been pretty solid. But again, getting back to the point, you get a rally going, you get some energy going, and nothing happens. Duran with the ground out, Devers with another strikeout, Bregman with the pop out. So there's just so many times the Red Sox put a rally together and it just dies. It is what it is. But hey, shout out to the bullpen today. Shout out to the bullpen. did a great job. Luis Guerrero had himself a very nice outing here. 2 innings, only give up a hit, 19 pitches, had a strikeout there. He was giving up a couple of hard hit balls, but this is a guy with good stuff. This is a guy with good velo. He showed some good things last year and a cup of coffee towards the end of the year. Luis Guerrero, this was a guy I was looking at in spring training where he got off to a very good start in spring training, and then he kind of started to get hit around a little bit. Ended up going to the minor leagues. He had one rough outing in the minor leagues. He had a couple of outings where he gave up a run, but then he had one bad one where he gave up 5 earned. But I'm not really worried about that because when you got a guy like Luis Guerrero who, stuff-wise, probably belongs on the major league roster, he's just working on things down there, you know? So I'm happy with Guerrero coming back up. I want a bit more stuff to lean on towards the end of the game. You know, sure, Zach Kelly, that was looking like a guy, but he just couldn't find his way consistently. You know, yes, you got the top dogs in the bullpen. You got Chapman. You got Slayton. You know, Whitlock has looked pretty solid for the most part this year. But on those other days when those guys aren't pitching, I want another guy who can really just bring it with some velo and some stuff. And I really hope Luis Guerrero can be that guy. I think there's potential there. So nice to see him back up. Hendricks, again, had a bit of a tough day. The 3 walks here, picked up a strikeout, 32 pitches in the inning. So that was, that was giving me a bit of a heart attack, but it is what it is. If he can get back on track, I mean, there you go. There's another guy that, you should be able to count on. Hopefully he can get himself right. Hey, shout out for the bullpen today. Let's get to the series reactions here. Every time after a series, I'll go on Twitter and I'll go look at what you all have to say. Here we go. Wow, we got 20 comments here. I'm just reading these for the first time. We got Dorvid. Let's see what you got to say, my friend. Let's see what you got to say. Is there a case to be made, even with the injuries, that this team is one of the most disappointing relative to talent? And when a whole team can't hit a fastball for the 3rd year in a row, why hasn't the hitting coach been fired? I effing hate this. This is a family-friendly show. I will not use that language on this show. But my answer to this right now, it's early. It's early. I think really guys are still trying to figure it out, but I'll go back to the hitting coach halfway through the year. Let's give it a couple more months. Let's give it some time. Guys trying to fight through some things in the first month, right? Casas starting to wake up here. Raffy's still trying to find his way consistently. Do we have the right lineup right now? I've mentioned this a couple of times in this episode. Do we have the right lineup? There's been plenty of times of all my years watching the Red Sox, you go into the year thinking you got the perfect lineup in your head, and things kind of just happen along the way, and you got to make some adjustments. So let's see, what this lineup looks like in a couple of months. I wonder if there could be something there. But listen, I think there's a right to be concerned with the approach offensively, with what the head honchos are, giving to these players, the information they're giving, saying, hey, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. The Red Sox lead the major leagues in swings. They're swinging the heck out of the bat. And when you take a look at where they are with the strikeouts, they have the 5th highest strikeout percentage in Major League Baseball right now. So right now, at least, again, I'm willing to kind of put the foot on the brake a little bit, but I think it's fair to be a little concerned that, maybe we need to adjust something with the approach, right? When you're swinging the crap out of the bat and you're striking out a whole lot, are you, focused on the best possible quality? I don't know. I'm not sure. But I think that's a fair question, Dorvid. I think it's a fair question. What else we got here? We got a few. Here we go. Ariana, how are we doing? Ariana, what do we got? All right. If they insist on getting Hamilton ABs, it should be on a KC off day instead of shifting him to center field. Keep KC at second base. If they want Rafaela out, Duran center field, and put Refsnyder in. I think that's very fair. I think that is absolutely completely fair. To me, I just, at this point, I am not really seeing a reason for Christian Campbell to be playing center field. I get you want to get Hamilton some playing time, but he's not coming up, with the offense that you need, right? Obviously, guys like Romy Gonzalez, he's been able to show that he can come off the bench and he can give you good production. David Hamilton, yes, I mean, there is a lot he can offer you when he's right. And that's a tough spot for a manager because you got to think, like, Hamilton showed us last year how valuable of a player he can be. He can contribute with the bat at times. He absolutely can contribute when it comes to his legs, right? A lot of stolen bases last year. So it's a tough spot for a manager because you want to get that guy going, but at the same time, how long are you going to keep doing it at the, to where it starts to hurt the team? I do wonder. I'm actually going to say this. I think by July, we're going to have a pretty different looking team. I think, they're still feeling things out. Luckily, they're still above 500 at this point. Yes, you're coming off a series loss, but I still feel like they're feeling things out with this team. I think you're going to start to see some call-ups here over the next month. You're going to have to start making adjustments here, and I wonder if someone like Hamilton, could be at risk. At the end of the day, you want to get the best possible team on the field, but you also have to weigh the player development side of things as well. Yes, Meyer, he's on an absolute hot streak down to the minor leagues right now. But do you want to rush him at this point? Do you still want him to work on some things down there? Yes, the stats are looking great, but there could be some smaller things that maybe we're not thinking of that maybe people within the Red Sox organization want these guys to focus on a little bit more. Roman Anthony, I've talked about why, yes, the numbers look great with him. Yeah, he's hitting the crap out of the ball, but you could clean up the swing and miss a little bit. You could clean up on the strikeouts a little bit. Yes, he is walking a lot, but he's also striking out a lot. He almost feels like the exact product of what the Red Sox are doing right now, right? Roman Anthony, this guy is swinging a lot, and when he connects, he's doing damage, right? But then along with that comes the strikeouts, comes the swing and miss. So he almost feels like a product of what the Red Sox philosophy is within the organization. Am I the only one that's thinking that? Right? But then again, Roman Anthony is super talented. So if you could bring him up, stick with that philosophy, hey, I mean, this guy, I for Roman Anthony come up. But Ariana, getting back to what you said, I think that's completely fair, what you say. I think with Christian Campbell, I don't see a reason to be playing center field right now. I think, yeah, you got to keep him at second base. That's just me. I got to put the best team on the field. What do we got? Glenn Mills. How are we doing here? How are we doing? Glenn Mills. This team just isn't hitting with any consistency. Crochet was off today, but nice outing for Guerrero. Hope he's back to stay. Tough outing for Hendricks, but I think he'll be fine. Yeah, the 3 walks, that was killing me. Half a dozen or so Woo Sox are hitting. They play in an hour on Nesson. Hey, it's funny how we're all pretty glued to what the Woo Sox are doing. You got to love that. Gotta love that. I see you in the chat, Paul. What are we doing with Yoshida? Where is Yoshida right now? What is going on with Yoshida? Where is he? Is he traveling right now? Is he in, what scenery is he looking at right now? He's taking pictures? Like, what the heck is that guy doing? Well, no. Yoshida, we actually did have an update on Yoshida, and I believe on last night's show, I do believe I forgot to mention this. We had Cora saying that, where is that update? Let's see. Let me find it. I believe he said he's up to 120 feet in throwing. So he's still, here's the thing. You can't really bring Yoshida back at this point, because you already have an everyday DH in Rafi. The only way you can get Yoshida into this lineup is in the outfield, right? If you give Rafi a day off, he could DH, but there's not really a spot for him on the team right now. That's why I think with the Red Sox, there's really no rush. Get the throwing back. And then I think the Red Sox, silently, they are hoping for a team to be in need of a bat and then they give the Red Sox a call about Yoshida, right? If someone goes down out there, a key player in the lineup goes down with, some kind of an injury where they have to miss a lot of time, I think that's where the Red Sox are hoping they can get a phone call for Yoshida. Let's take a look here. Let's get to one more before we get out of here for the day. And what do we got here? Jace Dowell, how you doing, my friend? How you doing? What do we got? The fact that all of our left-handed batters can't catch up to 95-mile-an-hour fastballs, middle, forget about it, even if they are a little bit high, is a major problem. It is insanely evident the negative impact moving Campbell off a second has on his day-to-day play. Stop it. All right, yeah, and I'll reiterate what I said. I don't really see a point to playing Campbell in center field, at least right now. And, maybe if someone goes down, then you can put him out there. I'm okay with, Christian Campbell playing there here and there, but I don't know, man. When you're trying to find that consistency, and I get it from a manager point of view, you got to get these guys the playing time off the bench, but if you are trying to get the best possible lineup every day, it's hard. I totally understand it, but I'm also thinking about it too from Cora's perspective. Because he does got to get these guys in the lineup, right? But at the same time, how long are you going to go with it? Yeah, and when it comes to the swing and miss, actually, let's take a look here. And when it comes to the swinging strike leaderboards here, the Red Sox right now are second in the major leagues in swinging strike percentage. Can you guess who is number one? Let's do a little bit of a contest here in the chat. Can you guess who is number one in swinging strike percentage? The Red Sox are number two. Can you guess who is number one? Phoenix says the White Sox. That is incorrect. That is incorrect. It is not the White Sox. Corbin says White Sox too. Nope. Carlos says Dodgers. Nope. The Dodgers are actually... Oh, okay. They're 11th. They have the 11th highest. There it is. Corbin Barrels and Aiden saying the Rockies. The Rockies are number one with a 15.3% swinging strike percentage. The Red Sox are number two at 12.6. Seattle was 12.5. So that's why, you see Crochet today racking up the strikeouts. Who knows if he has that kind of a day against another team, like who's at the bottom of this list, like the Cubs right now. Here's the big difference with the Cubs and the Red Sox. The Cubs are also swinging a ton, but they have the fourth lowest swinging strike percentage. The Cubs are making a lot of contact, but they're swinging a lot too. The Cubs are looking very good. So that's something very similar with the Red Sox and Cubs. They swing a lot, but the Cubs are doing a much better job at actually making contact. The Red Sox are just not. So are we going to see an improvement there? I am not so sure. But everybody, let's get to the Guardians preview. We got a series coming up. What is today? Is today Thursday? Today's Thursday. All right, so they will be playing tomorrow. I'm thinking it was Wednesday for some reason. But Tanner Houck looked better his last time out. He's going up against Ben Lively in the opener. Ben Lively's off to a pretty decent start this year. ERA at a 3.86. If we were to take a look at the experience against Lively, you got some guys with some ABs against him. Willie Abreu has a home run against him in his career. Duran has 8 ABs, hitting .250. Ref Snyder has a few ABs. So you got some experience against him. But there's also some experience against Tanner Houck here as well. Jose Ramirez has hit a home run off of Tanner Houck in 13 ABs, but he hasn't hit him very well overall, only hitting 154 against him in his career. Stephen Kwan, that's definitely a guy to look out for. That guy is a contact menace. He is going to be getting on base like there's no tomorrow. So the Guardians overall this year, off to a pretty decent start. They're 14-10. This is a pretty solid team, and last year starting pitching was a bit of a concern for them. Bullpen was more their name of the game. But the starting pitching is looking decent. In Game 2, Walker Buehler, who's looked very good here over the last few starts, he's going up against Logan Allen. And Logan Allen's off to a pretty good start, 2.11 ERA in his first few starts. And the Red Sox, they saw both of these guys over the last couple of years here. Jaron Duran has a couple of ABs. Devers has a few. Romy Gonzalez has a few. Bregman has a few. So that'll be an interesting matchup. Not a whole lot of experience against Walker Buehler. And in game 3, Brian Bayo making his second start of the year against Gavin Williams. Gavin Williams, first round pick a few years ago. And not a whole lot of experience on both sides. Bregman has a few ABs against Gavin Williams. And then against Bayo, you've only got Jose Ramirez and Stephen Kwan, who have had a couple of ABs. So, and Jose Ramirez, he's got 2 ABs against Bayo and has a hit in both ABs. And Kwan has 1. I believe he has a double. So this will be an interesting series. You're going up against some decent pitching here. And this is a lineup that's going to be finicky to deal with. They got some pesky bats in that lineup. Jose Ramirez, one of the best bats in baseball. Stephen Kwan. You know, that I love Stephen Kwan. Like, I wish the Red Sox had a guy like Stephen Kwan. Love that guy. The Red Sox need more bats like that at this point. But everybody, hey, tough one today. Came up short in this series. You know, if we were to take away a couple of bright spots, they were able to figure out Bryce Miller in game 1. But in the end, they should have taken advantage of Emerson Hancock yesterday. But I really do think that was just what happened against Emerson Hancock yesterday, I think was a reflection of the approach of this team. You should have just taken that guy to town, man. You should have been wrecking that guy yesterday. That's just me. Crochet is going to be off, but that's where you need to count on the offense to really step up. You know, you bring in your ace to help shut it down, but when he's not at his best, you got to do your best to pick up the slack. So it is what it is, but I think it's fair to be worried about the approach of the offense. I'm not fully there yet, but it's starting to make me question things a little bit. So, but everybody, I'm out of here. Thank you so much for joining me today for the post-game show. If you can on the way out, hit the like button for me. Subscribe if you're new. We're trying to get to 4K by the All-Star break. Everybody, go enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll talk to you next time. Ooh.